and I'm really glad to be joined by our next guest, Richard Fowler, host of The Richard Fowler Show, among many other hats that he wears, national commentator, and we're going to talk about a really important issue of the Trump administration trying to sneak something by. They're trying to dress up a bad idea and sneak it into the conversation. So, Richard Fowler, thanks so much for joining us on the Zero Hour.
Thanks for having me. I'm sorry I couldn't make it down to the studio. It's been a wild day here in Washington. But I think you're absolutely right how you describe it. When talking about we're talking about paid family leave, obviously, and the plan that was rolled out today, or I guess yesterday, by Marco Rubio and Ivanka Trump. Now, let me tell you this, Alex. I've been very vocal about, I applauded the president for bringing it up in his State of the Union address, and I even said that if it's a good paid leave plan, I'm a Democrat that would go to the White House for the speech and the whole nine if it was a good plan. And then we saw the plan, and it's not a good plan. It's not a good plan for the American people, and it's not a good plan for working families.
And not only is it not a good plan just because it is being called the Marvanka plan, which is a vomitous name. We should just stop the portmanteauing of things, especially including Ivanka's name. But the specifics of this, I'm going to not call it a paid family leave. It's only a paid family leave, in air quotes, plan, is basically to steal your own retirement that we've paid for in Social Security to somehow magically pay for paid family leave. Now, I want to make sure that you know that Social Security Works, the organization that I'm the executive director of, we very strongly support paid family leave as part of Social Security. So we actually wrote a plan for 12 weeks of paid family leave as part of Social Security, so administered by SSA, and we would pay for that by, amongst other things, making millionaires and billionaires pay the same rate on all of their income, just like the rest of us, into Social Security. So if it was a good plan, we would definitely support it as well. Paid family leave is a critical thing that is missing from our society right now. And the opportunity for the administration to have made a bold move on this was really there, but like everything else that they've done, this is a very normal Republican plan. This is criminals on Wall Street will love it. Big corporations will love it because it's just taking the people's money and saying, okay, well, you pay for your own paid family leave by lowering your future Social Security benefits. And it's a garbage plan. It's pitting generations against generations, and it's making it seem like we're not the richest country in the world at the richest point in our history who can afford both a secure retirement and paid family leave. So this is one of those ones that I think it's most critical that we expose what is actually here. They're dressing it up, but under it, it's just another bad idea.
Right, I think that's absolutely right. Now, for folks at home, this is what this plan looks like. So what this plan says is if you are, a working family, let's put you in Omaha, Nebraska, and you have a sick mother or a sick child, and you decide to take a couple weeks off to take care of your sick child. What this plan says is basically you will steal time from your Social Security benefits. So if you have the number of points necessary to qualify you for Social Security retirement, you would say, steal 6 weeks I'm taking 6 weeks off to take care of my sick mother. That time would be sucked away from your Social Security, meaning you would have to retire 6 weeks later than the scheduled retirement via your normal SSA or normal Social Security. So for me, it's basically forcing working families to make a choice. Do I wait? Do I delay my retirement to help my sick mother? Or do I take care of my sick mother? And that is not a choice that American working families should have to make, because corporate CEOs are making that same choice. When the tax bill was passed last month or 2 months ago, corporate CEOs didn't have to make a choice between one tax giveaway or another. They got the whole enchilada. And what you're saying to working families, who are the real sort of the backbone of this country, the real engine behind America's economic growth that we've seen over the past decade, is you're asking these workers to now make a choice. And they shouldn't have to make a choice because the corporate CEOs and these major corporations never had to make a choice. Paid family leave should be something that we give as your benefit for being part of the engine that makes America great. We are the only developed country in the world that does not offer this as a benefit to our workers. And what Republicans are trying to do by using their buzzwords as budget neutral, cost savings, is create a situation where we are once again forcing working families to choose. And there doesn't have to be a choice here because we could close one small tax loophole, not a big tax loophole, a very small tax loophole, and we could pay for this outright. And I think that's the most heartbreaking thing for me when you look at some of the policies we've seen over the past year from the Trump administration, is over and over again, we see them say, oh, well, dreamers have to choose. They choose between dreamers and poor kids. We have to choose between community health centers and poor kids. We have to choose between, it's always this choice, but when it comes to tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires, there wasn't a choice. It was, yeah, they deserve these tax cuts. These companies deserve to have all this money. That's going to make our economy grow. But the truth of the matter is, none of these companies, whether it's Exxon or Ford or Kimberly-Clark or Walmart, none of these companies work without the American worker. And I think that's what's missing from this equation is some heart and some care for American workers across this country. And that is why I'm opposed to this family leave plan. I'm happy the president he was one of the few Republicans who actually brought up paid family leave in the State of the Union address. But once again, like I said, the devil will be in the details. And
so, Richard, I think this is something, I mean, I'm not strongly disagreeing with you. It's good that they're bringing it up. It shines a light on the need. But I also see this administration and Republicans in general, but this administration especially, it's dangerous to get, like, let me point out some other examples and then we can figure out what I'm trying to point at here. So it's dangerous to say, oh, good, he's going to work on paid family leave. And then they put through this garbage policy because then what they'll do is they'll say, done, check, we did paid family leave, but we didn't, right? And we see that time and again. So, like, they talk a good game about lowering drug prices, and then they put the dude who literally raised the price of insulin year over year over year that leads directly to people dying because they can't afford their insulin, a drug that's over 100 years old. So they talk about lowering drug prices, and then they put Alex Azar in charge of HHS. They talk about Chinese steel being dumped into our market, and specifically in order to decimate our manufacturing sector. They say they're going to do something about that. They talk about it, but you look at the numbers and they're doing nothing. And in fact, that the economic warfare coming from around the world against us has increased, and he's done nothing about Chinese steel. And I found myself in a situation when he said some good things about Chinese steel. I was like, yes, if he actually does this, I will be the first in line to clap for it. And then I realized that it was dangerous to even believe the first salvo, their first saying, I care about this, because I think it is a strategy so that they can put something, it's Orwellian doublespeak, right? So they say they're going to do something about paid family leave or about high drug prices or about Chinese steel being dumped on our market. But the thing that they do actually accelerates the problem. And so I guess what I'm saying is that I have moved fully and totally beyond giving this administration even the beginning of a benefit of a doubt.
I hear that. I mean, I definitely hear that. I don't think I hear people that make that argument. I acknowledge it. I think there's some things that you can't applaud him. Like, so when he put the tariff in on washers and tariff on solar panels, those were good moves, right? And I think for a long time we had Democrats saying they cared about the American worker, and then they basically tried to pass the Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership, which was the worst thing ever for American worker, on top of the fact that it codified slavery in Malaysia into law. So I think that what this president has realized is that there is a chasm in our own party when it comes to issues of trade and it comes to the American worker. And he's used that as leverage to put out these talking points and put out this glittery message around these various issues. So I hear you on that particular point. But like I said, once again, the devil in everything is in the details. So when I read the tariff against washers and solar panels, like, this is a good tariff. I think this is good. But when I read the details of this paid family leave plan, I'm like, the devil's in the details. And like I said prior, these details are devilish, because these details are causing American families to do is make a choice between a sick family member and my security in retirement. And my mom just retired a couple weeks ago, and she has 2 sons. And I think most people, most working families, most working moms would make the choice to take care of that sick kid. But then you ask yourself, so in taking care of my sick kid or taking care of my sick parent, I'm going to delay my retirement for a year or 2 years or 3 years when I've already paid into this retirement system, right? And that is the false equivalency, and that is what's hurtful, and that is the problem, overall problem with this administration, is you've got to read the details, you've got to see the details, and when you see the details, a lot of times you say, wait a minute, that is not exactly what you said. So you use the word paid family leave, but basically what you're making these individuals do is steal from themselves in order to take care of a sick family member, and that's a scam.
Which is, just pushing on that slightly, that's what people do now, right, when they make a choice. Because just to get a little wonky here, delaying your retirement doesn't actually mean you have to retire later. You can retire later, but it's just a benefit cut. It's just a straight up benefit cut. Your benefit goes down because of the way benefits are calculated. If you, quote unquote, delay your retirement, what they're saying is you're moving the age at which your benefits are calculated by later. So then whenever you take your benefits, you're getting less. So it's just a benefit cut. And Social Security is an insurance program against lost wages. And some of the wages are due to retirement. So what you're saying, again, if you cut through everything in this plan, is the workers will use their wages to pay for any time that they spend not working, dealing with their family, the birth of a new child or anything, which is what people do right now. You're just saying it's not anything other than you pay for your family leave. And at the root, that's all this plan is.
I think that's absolutely right. Like, you're basically paying for the fact that you have a sick child or a sick parent that you want to take care of. The corporation's not footing the bill. It's not like, the American government is helping you out. They're just saying, well, oh no, you could go into your retirement money that we've set aside for you, that you're forced to pay into, and take that money away. And what that means is if you decide to take 2 years off of work to take care of your sick parent, instead of retiring, say, for example, at 67, you may not be able to retire to 69. And I think that is, for some people, and like I said, my mom just retired, and she worked her whole entire life in this country. And she says, I'm so happy to retire, and I'm so happy to finally get my Social Security benefits. And there's so many other Americans who are in their 50s, who are in their 40s, who have to make this choice. And it's unfair that they have to make this choice, because once again, like I said at the top, we don't ask corporations to make a choice between which tax cut they want. They get everything.
It's
right?
true.
They got their corporate tax cut lowered. They got no loopholes closed. So they're living high off the hog. Meanwhile, working families and middle-class families have to make a choice. Even if you look at the tax plan in particular, the middle-class taxes that's in the tax plan is not even permanent. So we have to wait in a decade. Congress could say, oh, well, we're over giving middle-class people tax cuts, but corporations, you get to keep yours. But when it comes to paid family leave, all of a sudden, we now have to make a choice, and neither option is in our best interests.
And importantly, I'm going to give you the last word in the last couple of minutes, but I just want to point out that paid family leave as part of social insurance, which is done everywhere around the world, actually works. It works really well. So you have a large, near universal risk pool in Social Security. Everyone pays in. Everyone pays into it. And that actually is a way that working together, we can do things like provide 12 weeks of paid family leave, because together we actually lower the costs for the individual, for some of the individuals, right? That's how a social insurance program works. So it's not like there's no alternative to this fake plan that they're pushing. You can look at literally any other OECD country around the world, and you'll find a paid family leave plan there based on the social insurance model. So, Richard, tell us a little bit. People want to hear more from you, find out more about what you do. Where can they go to find more information about the Richard Fowler Show?
Well, yeah, thanks for having me. And one other point I want to add to what you're making, because I think that's a very valid argument, is this ideal of the external cost of being sick and having a sick family member. If you're not there to care for your sick family member, you actually cost the entire system more, because that will delay somebody going to the doctor. It could delay somebody getting the healthcare coverage they need, meaning that when they actually show up to the doctor, or they show up to get healthcare, they show up after there's an illness. What you find, it's cheaper if there's a family member taking care of them than if they're being taken care of by somebody else. It stops the spread of infectious disease, and I go on and on and on about all these different externality costs that the American will have to pay because that we're currently paying because we don't have paid family leave. But as a plug to our show, you can check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/Fowler Show. Always, you can follow me at the Fowler Show, at Fowler Show, or at Richard A. Fowler, where we inform, empower, and help folks get their voice back 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Richard, thanks so much for joining us. Richard Fowler, host of The Fowler Show.